What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we're taking a look at a game called Fray, so stick around. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel and you want to see more content like this, start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Fray is a small, compact, fast-paced card game published by Smunchy Games, and what's really interesting about Fray is that the designer and the creator has created this world called Adia, and there's actually an RPG, a pen and paper RPG that is in beta right now, set in that universe. And part of the story of that world is that there was a great war, or there is a great war, and one of the soldiers in that war designed this game. So you'll see the artwork is very sketchy, like somebody had hand-drawn everything to kind of relieve some tension from the soldiers in the front lines of that war. So that's really, really neat. And you can actually play this game, you know, within that pen and paper RPG. So if you're playing the pen and paper RPG, there's, you know, ways that you could implement playing this handheld card game as well. But I don't know anything about that RPG outside of what I just told you, and I could still play the game. So that's what we're taking a look at today. It is for 2 players. You play usually best of 3. Rounds only last about 15 minutes. It is very quick. And it's for ages, you know, like, let's see what they officially say. 8 and up. I could see that, you know, once you understand the mechanics, it's really quite simple to play. But is it any good? That's what we're here to find out. So if you join me on the table, we'll get started and take a look. Alright, so real quick, just take note that this is a prototype copy. So some of the components will be better created and produced, obviously, once the Kickstarter is over with. For example, this box is just folded up cardboard. But it's pretty nice for it being just a prototype. The cards, some of the art is a little off-center and stuff like that, but that's all things that will be fixed. The rules come on cards, so the instructions on how to play, and you get 2 copies, so you can give your opponent one, and you can have one for reference, which is nice. And there's also an additional card that is used to mark the center of the battlefield. I'll explain that in a minute. And then you have your actual game cards. There are 30 cards total, 10 of each faction. There's 3 factions. You have these polar bears, the dwarves, and then the dragons, essentially. And you have 1 card, 1 through 7, and then 3 spell cards. And all of the cards are the same as far as what they do within their faction. So you'll see here all of the 1s are the same. It's all draw a card. And then the additional effect is you can play an additional, you know, dragon unit, dwarven unit, bear unit. But other than that, they're essentially the same. The 2s are the same, 3s, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there's also 3 spell cards in each, and the spell cards are the same for the faction. So the dragons all have Foresight. There's 3 copies of that. View up to 4 cards from the top of the deck, draw 1, and then shuffle the rest. The dwarfs have Lashing Strike. Put a unit back into its owner's hand, then both players draw a card. And then the bears have choose 1, negate a spell during their turn, or draw a card during your turn. So that's essentially everything that you need, or everything that comes to play the game. So once you know what each number does, you don't really need to like look at the rules or anything like that, because you can pretty much memorize it from there. So to start a game, you're going to shuffle all these up, deal each player 7 cards, and then start playing. Alright, so we have our 2-player game set up here. Each player's been dealt 7 cards. I've placed the center card in the middle just to denote what the center card is. We're going to be creating a 9 spaced 3x3 grid, which is called the battlefield. And we're going to be fighting each other for control of units that are on the table, essentially. So you can place a card over top of this. This is just to annotate what the center of the battlefield is. And then, of course, you can place units around as well. So on your turn, you must play a unit anywhere on an open square. You may also play a spell unless you play a unit that says you cannot play a spell. And you can play the spell either before or after you play a unit. You don't draw any cards unless you play a card that says draw a card. So the cards that you have are the cards that you have unless otherwise. And playing a unit is... placement is important. So this is where hand management comes in play, and placement of cards. To control a unit, all you have to do is play it. You can also take control of another player's unit by playing a number higher than what is already on the field, adjacent to it. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say I am player 1, and I want to play a low number to start. Let me put my spells together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually play a spell. So I'm going to play this Foresight spell. The Foresight spell lets me view the top 4 cards of the deck, pick one, and shuffle them. 7 is the highest number, so I want to try and get a 7. I didn't have one in my hand. So I draw 4 cards. I look at them. I have no 7s here, but I do have a 6. So I will take that 6, and then I will shuffle these back into the deck, like it says. And then, like I said, I have to play a unit. And for these purposes, I'll just go ahead and play this 4 Mage Guard here. And I'm playing that on the right, so there's empty space here, 3 up here, 3 down here. And then I pass it over to my opponent. And you see he's got a 7 in there. He's also got a 6, 4, and a 5, and then 1 of each of the spells. Now the 7, all of the 7s say you cannot play any other cards, so I can't play any spells. And they also say adjacent allied cards, so of the same suit, if you will, so other dragons, are immune to spells. So not only do I want to take this dragon, but I also want to keep my opponent from playing a spell against it. So I'm going to play this queen, and I'm going to play it, this is my opponent here, so he would play it that way, and then he takes control of the 4, because 7 is higher than 4, and then I just turn it like that to denote that he has control of that. So he right now is winning 2-0, because he controls 2 units, I control none. The numbers don't matter when counting victory points, they only matter for the purposes of controlling other units. And I can't play a spell on this dragon because of his 7. And I can never take a 7 because I don't have anything that would play higher than a 7. So looking over here, I do want to be able to take that 4. I can't target it with spells, but I can take control of it with a 6 or a 5, but I don't have any 5s. So I will play this High Arcanist. So I will play it here, and because it's a 6, and it says I can't play any spells, so I won't play any spells before, and I can't play any after, and then I take control of this 4. See how that works? So now I'm winning 2-1. Pass it back over to him, and you can see now how this goes kind of quick. I don't have another 7 to take control of that 6, but I do have a 5 to take control of this 4. But what's unique about 5s is that 5s can take other 5s. 5s are the only card in the game that can take something equal to it. Otherwise, you would have to beat it. So I don't necessarily want to spend that there. So maybe I'll take this. I don't know if my opponent has a 7. I'm assuming he doesn't because he didn't take that 6. So I'm going to play this like that. And then take control of this dragon. So now you can see that, and I can't play any spells because the 6 says I can't play any spells. So now it's tied. No, it's not tied. It's 3-2-1. My opponent is winning. So he passes it back over to me. I have a 6, but a 6 can't take a 6. I can't take this 6. I can't take this 7. Well, I already own this 6. I can't take this 4 because there's no open spaces. So maybe instead I play a spell to draw a card to see what I get. And I get another 5, which is not great. So I will play... I'll just play a 2. I'll play it up here. And it says choose one, cast a spell from the grave, or cast a spell from your hand. I don't have any spells from my hand, so I will cast this from the grave to draw another card. Actually, I'll cast Foresight from the grave, which lets me take the top 4. And let's see what we got. I kind of want this so that I can return something to my opponent's hand. And then I'll shuffle these back up. So you guys kind of get the idea. I'm not going to play like the whole thing. So you go back and forth, counting how many each player controls. And whoever controls the most units at the end of the round wins the round. And we found it best to play best out of 3 because the games do go kind of quick, especially once you understand what all of the cards do. And yeah, there's not much else to tell. There is one other rule. There can be a situation where you can't play any unit cards because your hand, all that's left in your hand is spells, in which case you show your opponent that you don't have any units to play, and then the game would end early. Your opponent has one chance to play one more card. Let's say, for example, this was the case here, and he has no more units. I would get to play one more unit, which I don't have anything to win, but, you know, I'd just play this 5 here, and then the game would end early, and it would actually end up being a tie, because I have 3, and he has 3. I played a bunch of games, and that never came up for us, but I guess there is... you know, a chance that that could happen. So I'm glad that they did include some kind of rules for that instance. So what do I think of Fray? Well, if you know me by now, you know that I am a huge fan of small games, things that can fit in my pocket, fit in my bag, play quick, easy to explain, because I'm always wanting to get a game in any time that I possibly can. So, you know, you got an extra 10-15 minutes. This is very easy to throw out on the table, get a game in, get 2 games in, get 10 games in, and then easily put it away. So that right there is a winner in itself. It is simple, but it works. Like, it's not overly simple to where like I felt like there was no strategy behind what I was doing. Hand management is super important. Deciding when you want to place your high numbers, when you want to use your low numbers, all of that is super important, and I appreciate that about the game. The artwork is great. I love the fact of the matter that there is a story and a history built around the card game, not that the card game was just an afterthought thrown in. So I really, really appreciate that. This is going up on Kickstarter on March 3rd, so you'll be able to grab your copy of Fray. Like I said, it's published by Smunchy Games, 2 players, ages 8 and up, takes like 15 minutes. and I will make sure to leave links to all of their stuff in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Really helps us out a lot. Make sure that you share it with your family, friends, and your nerdy communities. If you have any suggestions for our channel, make sure that you leave them in the comment section down below. If you have any videos you would like featured on our page, you can hit us up on one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Circle of Nerds. Don't forget, we also have a podcast, comes out every Tuesday, called The Cosmic Disaster Show. You can find that right here on YouTube, as well as any platforms that support your favorite podcasts. And for an extra bit of love and affection, please consider checking us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/Circle of Nerds. Anyway, guys, that is all from me. I will see you in the next video.